And today, I'm going to talk about how a visual workflow can help you manage your projects, your tasks, and your deadlines. So I'm just going to put this out there. How many of you do project management in your jobs? Okay. And hi, come on in. I just asked the question, how many of you are project managers or have that role in your jobs, or you work on project teams, or you manage your own projects and timelines, kind of all the above. So today I'm going to introduce just a simple tool or process to help you to better manage your time. And so there's me. My name is Mark Cooper, and I live in Pocatello, Idaho. I'm an instructional technologist at Idaho State University, and I am originally from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Here's my 3 teams. Last night wasn't so good for the middle one. But we're hoping the Pirates are good this year. That's a stretch. And I, by trade, I'm an instructional designer. I've been in instructional design for 14 years, most of those years in the corporate world. And so about 2 years ago, my wife finished up her doctorate at the University of Pittsburgh and said, we're moving to Idaho. And I, of course, knew that we were going to be making a change, and I was actually hoping to go out west, so I was really excited. So about 3 years, we packed up our dog and our cat and moved to cross country. Actually did 2 one-way cross-country trips, and here I am in Idaho. I love it. Beautiful state. Haven't seen the entire state. And then within those roles, I've been a project manager, had some sort of project management experience for about 10 years. As an instructional designer, I had developed training programs for corporate companies, worked on cross-functional teams. My current role with ISU, I help faculty to develop their online courses, and so they go through an internal program called Quality Plus, which is our internal branded program based off of Quality Matters. Is anybody familiar with Quality Matters? Good, you got some Quality Matters fans out there. My role at ISU is that of a project manager because we have a series of phases that our faculty go through. They take their courses through. It's part quality assurance program, it's part professional development program. And so I manage them through various phases. And I'll talk a little bit about that later, and I'll show you a system that we use for project management. So here are some of the objectives. We're going to talk about the basic principles of Kanban. How many of you are familiar with Kanban? Great. And I'm going to give you some examples of how I use it in my professional life and also in my personal life. And perhaps maybe some of those folks who are familiar who have used a similar technique can share that as well. I'm hoping to be a fun activity to introduce these concepts to you. I like to do some sort of experiential activity when I do a presentation, so you're not just listening to me talk the entire time. So to introduce the problem, I have a couple questions, and these were on the intro. So think about these as we go through. Do you feel like you work nonstop but are never as productive as you'd like to be? Do you feel like you're constantly switching from one task to another, struggling to focus on one task long enough to make any progress? Yes. Sound familiar? And does your team struggle with communication, causing issues like duplicated work efforts, rework, and more? Yes. And you are in the right place. All right. So just to kind of start this off, I have a short little video from HBO's Silicon Valley. I cut out all the cuss words I know, I wasn't sure. This is my first time at Northwest Met, so I wasn't sure, like, is it cool, or is this more of like, but based on where we're heading tonight, I think you guys are a little bit, that's right, you guys are the party animals. So feel free to add in the cuss words. You'll know where they are. This video does a nice job of talking about what we're going to discuss today, Kanban. They're calling it Scrum, and I'm going to do a little bit of kind of comparison as well.
Well, we have a lot of work to get done, so maybe...
Oops, sorry.
We should do that instead, please. Dude, relax, okay? We each ripped through a full module this morning. We're just taking a little break. DRM is now a thing of beauty.
Wait, you did DRM?
Yeah.
I did DRM.
Why did you do DRM? I said I would do DRM, you would do error handling.
Anything to do with errors sounds like your whole vibe.
Yeah, I handle errors
Scrum?
every day.
Yes, Scrum.
Scrum. So, from rules...
Oh, sorry. Yikes. Oh, guys, I'm sorry about that.
Files into the in progress column, and it stays there until it is ready for testing. Okay, this increases visibility into our team's progress. And that, gentlemen, is Scrum. Welcome to the next 8 weeks of our lives.
This just became a job.
Okay, so here are the cards I'm adding under this epic for the ingestion engine. And there are 3 stories here. How long do we think each one will take?
I don't know, who cares? 4 hours apiece?
Yeah, maybe for you. Each one of those tasks would take me 3 max.
Not tasks, stories.
I've got a story. Why don't you choke on my...
Well, how about this? Why don't you each take one story, right? Okay. And let's see who's right.
You see what he's doing, right? He's trying to get us to compete so we work faster. He thinks this wall of Psych 101 MBA mind control is going to motivate us.
Fine, don't compete. Do them at whatever speed you like.
Jared. I know these guys. I really don't think Scrum is gonna work for them.
Okay, well, just trust in the system.
So we're going to work at a nice leisurely pace, right?
Sure.
But why are you tapping faster?
I'm not. Maybe my leisurely pace is just a little faster than yours.
Booyah.
That's one of my favorite shows. Has anybody else watched that, seen that before? Those two are always at each other. So, just to kind of debrief that video, before Scrum, what were some of the problems that was Guilfoyle and Dinesh were having with the work? Duplication. Anything else? Communication was a problem. Motivation, yes, for sure. Nobody really knew what they were doing, or what they had to do. Nobody had an assigned task. So after, I should just use that. Yeah, there we go. So after the Scrum, what was the result? Fierce competition. There's always fierce competition between those two characters. More cussing. Maybe. Anything else? It seemed like they had a more efficient workflow. Still kind of competing, yes, absolutely. What about their duplicated efforts? Do you think they ran into any of that? Okay, good. So what you saw visually on that board is what we're going to talk about today, and that's a Kanban board. But I wanted to give you a little bit of context about Scrum. I like to think of Scrum as kind of the organization and planning part, and then the Kanban is like the execution part. So that's getting your tasks done, moving them along that trail. Scrum is originally a rugby term. And when they're clustered like that and they're restarting a play, it involves players packed together and there's attempting to gain possession of the ball. So what makes Scrum similar to project management is that both of them use a team approach. Each player has a specific role on the team. I'm not a rugby fan, so I don't know what that is. But sprints are important, so each play, and then you have to have flexibility. In regards to the people, it's taking large groups, large organizational groups of people, so divisions, departments, and breaking them into smaller, often cross-functional, agile teams, smaller teams to get the work done. And then in terms of the work, it's taking this gigantic project and breaking it into smaller parts, and then breaking those smaller parts into smaller parts. Kind of like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And so yeah, by breaking it into parts, you're prioritizing and sorting smaller tasks to make the work a little bit more manageable. And then in terms of the timeline for a Scrum, it involves short, fixed-length iterations. Projects are delivered after each iteration, and then those are optimized with sprints to get the work accomplished. And then key stakeholders get updated at the end of the iteration. So in a Scrum meeting, and we saw that with our Silicon Valley gang there was a Scrum meeting, and that's to go over and routinely update the team in terms of what they did yesterday to help meet the sprint goal, what they'll do today to help meet that sprint goal, and are there any roadblocks that will prevent them from meeting that goal. So now that we have just kind of the context of Scrum, I'm going to go into what's the heart of our presentation today, and that's using Kanban visual workflow. So Kanban is originally a Japanese word for billboard or signboard, and it was developed back in the 1940s by Toyota, the Toyota production system. And it aims to provide a visual process to help managers make decisions and balancing the demands with the available capacity. So you can see here, they're using that to move tasks through various stages on a Kanban rack. And then that'll help to minimize any bottlenecks. So I want to go over some of the key principles of Kanban to help you understand the process. And then, like I said, we're going to do a little bit of activity to help you with that. So number one is visualizing the workflow. So at the very top here, you have your categories, and each of the columns illustrate the workflow. This is a very basic one. So there's not a standardized Kanban board. You kind of customize that to however your workflow works. So as you can see, you have your to-dos, your in progress, and your done. That's the basic right there. Some add additional columns. You might have an on where you put projects on hold. But it's dividing up the work into smaller tasks and then writing these tasks on the card that are illustrated here and placing them in the appropriate column. Now it could be color-coded. So for instance, like one project is color-coded blue, another is orange, another is green, or it could be color-coded via whoever's working on that. So, if I'm working on the blue and one of my coworkers is working on the orange, we could visually see the tasks and who's doing what and what needs to happen. Next one is, whoops. There we go. Next one is limiting your work in progress. So by assigning explicit numbers of items to each project, column, you can minimize your bottlenecks. So in this case, we have here in the in progress field, we never want that to go beyond 3. That way, that makes it the work a little bit more manageable. You're able to see visually here, and you're not feeling that stress of having too many things. Now, 3 is just a number that's based on what you feel is the capacity for that particular area. And then managing the flow. So managing the flow as items go from in progress to done, other items come up and from the to do and into the in progress. Excuse me. And then a seamless workflow. So once you've moved things through, you want to be able to track. It's good to know that how long did it take to move project A through the entire process, or how long did it take to do the first task of project A and move it from to do all the way through to the very end. Tracking your progress. Measuring the lead time. So yeah, how long did that whole process take? And then optimizing the process. Where can I improve? This is all based on continuous improvement. So looking at your process and saying, okay, the next time we have a project go through, where did we run into problems? Where were our bottlenecks, and how can we correct that so that we can make this process flow a little bit better the next time? Okay. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of an activity. I have here, I'm going to pass these around. Take 3 of each color. Go. And then we have our Kanban boards. And so I'll pass this around. Thank you. And you want to set up your board like you see it here. Green ones will come in later on, but you want to, for your pink, write A1, A2, and A3. For yellow, B1, B2, and B3. And that signifies, so the letters are the projects, so project A, project B, project C, and the numbers are the tasks, so task 1, 2, and 3. And I'll leave that up there because I know things are still going around. Bless you. What's that? Correct. Thank you. And to keep this a little bit basic, and you can think about this as you're going through, are there any projects that you're working on right now that might fit into this? But we're going to keep things a little bit basic just for time. We could probably really get into this if we really needed to. Thank you. Okay. Okay, looks like folks are ready to move on. So, anybody need more time? So the first step is take your A1 and B1 and move it to in process. So these are the tasks that you're working on. Right now they're on your to-do list, and you're going to move those into your in process. So you're working on these tasks. Okay. Now take A2. So you're still working on A1 and B1. So keep them in the in process column. You realize that you also need to work on A2 because A2 goes along with A1. So move A2 into the in process column. Now once you've done that, take a look at your board and tell me what you see. Right. You can't take any more and put them into your in process. Otherwise, you'll be overworked in that area. So you have to work on finishing out your items in process before you can take on additional tasks. You've maximized your work in process. And now you have two choices. You can either work a task to completion or you could reevaluate those tasks. So, all right. So in the next step, after reviewing your board, you worked hard to complete A1. So move that to the completed column. And then B1, you discover that B1 requires a part that's on back order, and it's going to take about 2 weeks for that to come in. So you now move that to your on hold column. And that frees up some space. So you now have some capacity, and you could start some additional tasks. So move A3 to the in process, and now we're back at our maximum work in process. So we're back with our roadblock. Okay. Moving on, you've completed A2 and B2, so you want to move those tasks into the completed column. B1, the part came in, so you worked diligently. You can resume work on that task, and now you could move that from on hold to the in process column. How you feeling? You feeling accomplished? Yes. That's a good question. So in our little world, we'll say we were able to move through. But yes, that's a very good possibility, because you could have two projects that are contingent upon each other. And in that case, yes, you would take a look at that and you would say, is this something that I can move at least one of these forward, or I might have to move both of those into the on hold category. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point. So, yep, and go ahead. You're good. All right. So yeah, like I said, in this case, we'll keep it pretty basic, but yes, you do have a good point that it could be very contingent upon some of the other tasks. You might not be able to move forward with an entire project. The entire project is on hold until you can complete one of those tasks. All right, so B2 is finally done. So you want to move that to the completed column. But B3, your management team says they want to take a look at that. They want to review it. And so this is likely going to put you back about a week. So move your B3 to on hold while your powers that be review your that particular task. And then in our final step, management has reviewed B3, and then they green light it. You work hard to wrap it up, so you can immediately move that into the completed column. Congratulations, project A and B are completed. You finished on time and on budget. Does that feel good? Does that ever happen? And then management is pleased, so they want to reward you by giving you project C. So all of your green go into the to-do list. So there's always work to be done, right? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So if there's ever a case where you need to put work in an area, is that what you call management? What's the idea? I see the minimal processes in the
Mm-hmm.
What's the thought behind not having work?
Yeah, that's kind of like, you don't want to have too many things just on the backfire. So, if you are hitting that capacity, then you might need to, like you said, contact your upper management, tell them, hey, I got a lot of things that just aren't moving, or, call in some additional resources. You might even have to evaluate that and just say, is this something I could take off the board? It just really depends on the situation. Next, I'm going to show you how I use this in our work. So in the case of if that would happen, so I work with faculty, and often they get tied up with, especially around spring, things get so busy that they're like, Mark, I can't even think about this until summer. So in that case, I would move their work in process to on hold, and then if I haven't gotten into the situation where I have too many faculty dropping off, but then in that case, I might have to readjust some things. Great questions. Okay, so why should you use this process? I would say that it'll save you some time, especially with everybody on the same page, having a set goal, not doing duplicated work efforts, save you some money in your project, save you energy, so you're not stressed out, thinking, I have all this going on, what do I even work on? And that's going to minimize your stress and the stress of your team, and it's going to maximize their satisfaction. So who doesn't like to know that they're accomplishing things? And so the reason why I chose to present this is, we were feeling this way. When I came on with ISU, we were looking at project management, but we didn't have anything right away. We didn't really have a process in place. And so I was taking on faculty, and my caseload of the faculty that I'm working on was getting more and more. So I was always wondering, like, gosh, where are my faculty in the process? And since I had done some project management in the past, I had my own system, but we desperately needed some sort of workflow. And so last summer, we reviewed about 12 project management online applications to fit our needs. And we brought that down to 3, really focused in on those 3 vendors, and finally landed on one called Pipify that really kind of gave us what we needed. There are hundreds of different project management applications out there, and some of them are, if you've ever used Microsoft Project, that's a little bit difficult to use. You actually spend, I worked for a company that wanted, and our director wanted us to use Project, and I spent more time project managing than I spent getting the work done, and it was ridiculous. So what I like about Pipify is it's based on Kanban. It was familiar to me, and you create cards in Kanban, and in our situation, a card represents a faculty or a course that we're helping them to design. I have some examples here of what this looks like, and just a brief kind of demo to show you how that works. So, to protect the innocent, I blurred out some their names. But as you can see, this is a more elaborate board than what we saw. So this is our process. As I mentioned, with our Quality Plus, it's part professional development. So we have a professional development column, and then it's part quality assurance. We don't have right now in our process that maximum number in the columns, just because we're working through this. It's all very new to us. And project management to a lot of my team members is brand new. None of them have, many of them have not used project management. So it's hard to say, you can only have 6 in that column and 4 in that column. But with my own faculty, I've kind of set those limits as more of as a test pilot, and so I'm going to see how that works. So yeah, as you can see, we have it's on hold, there's a resume column, there's development. So this is an area that I control as the instructional design partner for the faculty. And so here we're developing their course. Then their course goes through a student review where our student workers look at the course from the navigation and are the right policies in place. Then after that student review, there might be some revision that needs to happen with the course, and so then we have a column for that. And they're also going through an accessibility review at that point too. So we're captioning their videos and making sure all their documents are accessible. We do a final check, and then this final column here is the essential standards review. So in the quality matters, there's standards. There's important, very important, and essential. And so we're reviewing their course versus those 23 essential standards. And that's the final check before they complete. And their course is online certified. They get a stipend, so there's some motivation for them to go through this process. So we definitely needed something to help us work through this process so that we were sane. And as we're taking on more faculty, so when I first started, I had 2 or 3. Now I'm up to 12. I might be down to 8. Every semester we teach a course called Teaching Online with Moodle, and once they go through that program, then they're assigned an instructional design partner like myself. So every semester I'm picking up additional faculty who go through that program. And here's just a little bit of a demonstration. It's 9 minutes. I'm not going to go through this entire thing, but I wanted you guys to be able to see what that looks like. And I'll speed it up. So I made a copy. So what I'm doing here is I'm filling out a card. Actually, what's nice about this is we were able to automate a lot of this stuff. So we have a Google form that the faculty fill out with their basic information, and that Google form completes a lot of these fields here. Since this was a copy, I'm filling this out myself. But there's some basic information that we require on the front end. And Pipify, as I mentioned, it's a single source. So I'm putting in here a link to their course. I'm putting in a link to their course folder, which is in Google Drive. And so I'm able to just access directly through. I don't have to, go to different places, which kind of brings it all together. And that's where the bringing your arms around this whole process comes into play. So I created my card. And as you can see, within each card, there are different things. We customize this to meet our individual needs. So, and this is mostly a lot of stuff that our QM coordinator is doing in the very beginning, because she manages all the professional development that they have to take. So here, I just quickly click through a lot of this stuff here. It's more driven on their timeline. So if there is a special case, they would contact our coordinator, who oversees me and some other instructional designers, and they might come up with a customized plan based on their needs. That's more of like special cases. But most folks do go through the regular process. So, and everybody goes through each of those 3 reviews that I mentioned before: the student review, accessibility review, and essential standards. So that's kind of, there's no alternate path on that. But they might take a different course development, like professional development structure. But in order to get their stipend at the end, they have to complete all these phases. So, let's see, this is just showing a different, so within each column, this card changes. So right now I'm assigning an instructional design partner. I'm putting some links to some documents that came out of their reviews. I just want to get to a part a little bit down here, but like I said, this is all customized. So, and I'm not selling Pipefy whatsoever. I think it's great for what we need, but it definitely depends on your needs. And like I said, there's hundreds of companies that we reviewed. What I'm doing here is there's commenting. So if I met with a faculty, I can comment that. And all this data is going on to reports, and we're able to pull reports based on this data. So we're able to see how long it took a certain faculty to get from one column to the next. How long did it take for this particular review to happen in this stage? So all this data we're able to extract, and we're also able to extract how many contacts we've had in within the last 2 weeks. What we're doing now is there's within Pipefy you can email. Like I said, it's a single source, or I could copy the email. And then I could put it into my Gmail as a CC, and it tracks back onto Pipefy, which is really nice. So I'm able to see all the emails that I sent the faculty and track those. And everything, all this activity is being recorded. So I can go back and review not recorded, but notated. Then I could go back and I could see all of my activity. If you look, whoops, we're moving on. So that's an example of how I use that in my professional life. Also, I use Kanban in my personal life. I'm the chair of the Pocatello Arts Council, and so we do various public art projects throughout the year. We do grants. We might underwrite a sculpture, put on events, things like that. So I found when I assumed that role, that I needed also to be able to kind of get a feel for what we're working on, since we're a working board of about 12 people, but we don't want to overwork them. They're all volunteers. So we want to be kind of intentional about the work that we take on. So I found that Kanban, I found this Kanban flow, and I chose this because it's free, and they were able to allow me to have a free basic account. Pipefy was a little bit different of a price structure, where they give you a 30-day free trial, and then you had there was a pay. So being a volunteer organization, I didn't want to have to pay for anything. So I found this as a replacement. Let's give you this is a quick video. set up very much like how the other one is. With the Kanban format. So here I have things that we have as ideas, things that are work in progress. So I'm going to move something from an idea into in progress, stuff that we're already working on. And then again, just like Pipify, I was able to customize the inside of this card to have some check boxes of some tasks that we needed to do. 5 minutes, okay. So that's another way of how I use this in my personal life. Okay. It could be just as basic as having a whiteboard and specking out the lines. So it doesn't have to be something that you invest in to be able to use. This is just using sticky notes and boards. And that's it. Any questions?
Box here.
Oh, great.
Testing, testing.
Great.
So, for your work one, do you guys have it up somewhere where everybody sees it, or are they expected to use it at their just individual workstations? How does that work?
It's shared with everybody who is part of the team. So we have about 6 people that are part of our instructional design team, and it's shared with everybody within there. So everybody has that view that I showed you that had all those cards on it. That's the all view. You can filter that down and just see the cards that are assigned to you, but it's shared with everybody. Great question. Any others?
Well, 2 questions. Pipify, does it allow you to put in the definition of every story or task? Where do you do that? And if someone's not clear on what a specific task is, what the card says, is there someplace you can deep dive into so that there's no miscommunication?
Yeah, great question. It's completely customizable. So we worked with the Pipify company. They're out of Brazil. And we told them what we needed. They helped us craft this basic framework, and we just kind of built that out. But within Pipify, there's different, when you open up the card, there's different things that you could do. So you could set something that's a checkbox. You could set something that's a date. So it's really depending upon your needs. It was very, there were a lot of different options. And then I think to answer your second one, for the deep dive, there were areas that you can connect pipes. I didn't really go into that because there's a whole section that when it's moved into that student review, a whole other group takes that over. So we connected these 2 pipes. They get notified, which is cool. So you can set up notifications. We use Zapier to kind of make a lot of this stuff happen. At least with the form that the faculty fill out to populate all that. So there's plenty of options and add-ons, like that, kind of like they have like a library of other technology that goes into that. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you guys very much. Thank you. I hope you found some use out of this and can go back and make things a little bit easier with your. If you have any questions, if you're interested in Pipify or anything like that, feel free to reach out to me.